Are you ready to put yourself out there and get the publicity of your dreams? Join me and the one and only Selena Soo for a conversation that will help you overcome your visibility challenges and get your message seen and heard by millions of people. Tune in and learn 4 mindset lessons that will help you overcome your fear of being seen so you can start putting yourself out there. You're going to learn what publicity really means, quality versus quantity when it comes to creating publicity, how to create a know, like, trust factor with your audience, the difference between those who get featured on Oprah and those who don't, and 3 steps to getting the publicity of your dreams. Selena Soo is a publicity and marketing strategist for visionary entrepreneurs, experts, and authors who want to reach millions with their message. She's helped clients and students get featured in places like the Oprah Magazine, Forbes, and Inc., and lands interviews on popular podcasts and national TV. Many of Selena's clients have become industry leaders with 7-figure businesses, raving fan bases, and hundreds of thousands of followers. Her signature approach comes down to building powerful and long-lasting relationships with influencers and the media in a thoughtful and authentic way. Trust me, this episode is jam-packed with nuggets of information, tips, and advice that are really going to support you in getting your message out there. I cannot wait for you to dive in. And as always, if you dig this podcast, please stay in the loop by being part of my email community. Sign up today at www.rubyfremon.com/subscribe. Whether you're new to this podcast or a loyal thought leader, please make sure you take a moment to download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. And of course, share it with a friend. Now it is time to get the publicity of your dreams with Selena Soo. Hey, thought leaders, I am back, and this is going to be an incredibly impactful episode for all of you listening, and I'm so excited. I have wanted this dear friend now of mine to be on the podcast for a while, and I'm so excited to have her here. So Selena Soo, welcome to today's Thought Leader. I am so excited for you to share your wisdom with our crew.
Oh, thank you. And hey, everyone. I am so happy to be here.
So Selena and I actually recently connected near the end of 2019 when she had commented on one of my videos. And I kind of had a fangirl moment. Let me be honest. I kind of had a fangirl moment when you commented, Selena, and I DM'd you and we started having a conversation. And that really just blossomed into the relationship that we have today. And I want to share that with everyone because you never know. You never know where you're going to meet people. You never know what type of meaningful relationships you can create with people. So it's just been an honor and a pleasure to know you and to continue to getting to know you. And yeah, I'm just excited to dive deeper today.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because I think that really connects to what we're talking about today, which is visibility and the
Yes.
importance of showing up, because you never know who's watching. Like, meanwhile, like, I'm falling in love with your work and your message and your personality. And, since we make a Facebook post or we record a podcast interview or get a piece of publicity, we have no idea who's listening. Sometimes we, wonder if it's even making an impact at all. But
Yeah.
people are watching, and I just so appreciate what you are putting out into the world.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in the likes and the follows and the numbers, and you never and it's easy to forget that behind all those likes and the numbers and the follows are actual human beings who are looking at your content. And not everyone is always going to be loud about it. Not everyone's always going to take the time to comment, but that doesn't mean that we're not creating an impact. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so I want to dive right in because you have such a gift at helping people bring their message to millions, and you have this amazing track record with your clients. But not only that, you are an incredible down to earth. Like, the more I get to know you, the more I'm like falling in love with you as a human being. You're just incredibly down to earth, and the way that you teach and talk about publicity makes it feel reachable. for like the everyday entrepreneur and leader. Whereas sometimes it can feel like something that is so far fetched, like, how am I ever going to get featured in Forbes, or how am I ever going to make it into, XYZ, whatever the publication is. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what really got you into this work.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I got into this work really when I was in my mid 20s and had a quarter life crisis. So I was
Mm-hmm.
working at a nonprofit at the time. I was making about $42,000 a year living in New York City. And at the time, I also was in a terrible relationship. I had low self esteem and just I felt terrible about my life. And I remember, asking a friend, like, do you know where I can go to feel better? Like, I need to do something. And that's when I got introduced to life coaching. And so I
Mm,
joined this women's life coaching group, and they met on Wednesdays in person. And I benefited from the power of coaching and female connection, and also learning about these incredible experts and authors. And, I just realized in those moments that, for all of us, we struggle for different reasons, whether it's like we hate our job, we're not sure what our purpose is,
mhm,
terrible relationship situation, or maybe we are dealing with like a crazy health situation.
mhm,
And I really believe that for people to get out of their pain, it's not just about having more information, it's also about having inspiration. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this idea of role models. I really feel like the world needs more role models that embody both information and inspiration. And so
mm,
these thought leaders, I felt like, were the biggest change agents, because so much of the time when we're struggling with something, there's
mhm.
a way out of it, but we
Yeah.
need to be armed with the tools, but the power is within us. So I just became really passionate about helping those people get their message out into the world. And so that began, my career in publicity and like lifting up and elevating these amazing voices.
Yeah, that's so amazing that you chose to go in that direction, because there are a lot of gifted leaders out there. There's a lot of people who have a purpose, who have a message to share. And it's not that they're not doing it, they're doing it, but there's this opportunity for them to impact even more people.
Yes.
But speaking from experience, for example, when I first got into this work, I went through the whole like, well, who am I to be out there, and who am I to like showcase my work in platforms that reach millions of people, and who's going to listen to me. And so we kind of go through that as leaders, that internal struggle of what if I'm not good enough, what if my information's not good enough, how do I even get myself out there, especially because today's digital world is really noisy, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, I have so much to share around that. I mean, I want to start by sharing a personal story about how I overcame some of my own visibility struggles,
Yes.
because I think people will relate to this. So I was always very comfortable being that behind the scenes person, cheering another person on, helping them get an opportunity. But when it came to me, I did not feel comfortable in the spotlight.
Hmm.
And so when I started my business, one of my first clients said, Selena, I just love you. I love your message. I want to put you in front of my audience. And I remember totally freezing up, and, kind of like my automatic answer in my head was no. But then there's this wiser part that's like, you should just go for it, Selena. This is someone that believes in you. This is like a, a safe place, like with someone who's really encouraging. And so I was like, you know what? I decided to say yes to the Skype interview.
Hmm.
Similar to what we're doing now, a video interview. And leading up, I was super scared. As I was recording it, I was scared. And afterwards, I was like, I hope I didn't completely screw the whole thing
Hmm.
up. And I got the recording before she released it. Or she did release it, but I hadn't released it to my audience. And I just
Right.
had a tiny audience. I was just getting started. Um, and I remember watching the video interview, and I was covering my face with my hands like I was watching a horror movie. And I was just so critical. I was like, wow, I'm talking too fast. I've got terrible eye contact. I don't look very confident. I had my interns on the side making notes of all my filler words, like
Hmm.
tallying them up, because I was in Toastmasters at the time. And I
Yep.
had so many nos and ums and all of that. And they had tallied up to like 137 filler words. And I was like, you guys can just stop counting. This is a disaster, total playback. Nobody can see this interview. I look like I'm such a mess. And one of my interns said, Selena, honestly, I don't think your interview was that bad. I actually think it was really good. I think that you should share it. And I was really stunned, but I thought, what if she's right?
Hmm.
And so I decided to just kind of do what felt like the crazy thing. Like, let me just put it out there. And within a couple of hours, I heard back from several people who were like, Selena, this is so exciting. We've never seen you on video before. I love that story you shared. This advice was valuable. And so that whole experience was powerful for me. I took away
Mm-hmm.
4 lessons that really all connect to mindset. So number one is that we are always our own worst critic.
Yep.
Rather than, cheering ourselves on for taking a big step forward, we basically look at what we do. And like, for me, I was basically like, let me like make notes of all the ways I fucked up. Like that was
Right.
just my whole mindset was
Yep.
like towards the negative. And, but the thing is, it's usually not as bad as you think. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that we compare ourselves to these internet superstars and best-selling authors and people that give TED Talks and just
Mm-hmm.
grace the stage and speak so eloquently. And the thing is, it's not fair to compare ourselves to people that are 5, 10, 20 years into their journey when we're starting on day one. So there
Right.
is going to be that gap. So that's not fair. But then the third thing that we have to understand is that while we have that vision of excellence, for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, the only way to bridge that gap is by doing the work. It is by taking imperfect action. It is by making investments in ourselves. I mean, those people who are, writing amazing books, giving TED Talks and all of that, they have coaches, they have mentors, they have copywriters, they have people giving them feedback and helping them get to that next level. So
Right.
you have to take imperfect action and do the things that are going to help you close the gap and really reach your potential. And then the fourth thing is that oftentimes we're so much in our heads, with being critical, but that's actually a selfish thing because we're not, I'm not doing interviews or sharing content because I want to impress people about who I am. It's really about what is the difference I can make in their lives. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you shift the focus on the other person, the impact you're trying to make, it really takes the pressure off. And so today, if I do an interview and I mess up with my words or whatever, if I ask myself, did you show up fully? Did you add value? Were you open and generous? The answer was yes. It was a fantastic interview and I can move on. I don't need to overanalyze it. And so I am someone who has perfectionistic qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I get it when people are like, I don't know if my website's perfect, or I need to lose some weight before I get on camera, or my business needs to be at a certain level before I put myself out there. I
Yeah.
understand that thought process. But these are the mindset shifts that really helped me. And when I think about, the people that are getting tons of visibility and attention, they're getting chosen to be on Oprah, to be interviewed by Dr. Oz, or getting these
Mm-hmm.
book deals, the difference between them and the people who aren't getting opportunities is that like they're showing up.
Yeah.
They're sending
True.
out emails, they're putting out pitches, they're doing the things. It's not that they're better.
Right. And I love that you mentioned that that they're actually just showing up.
Yeah.
Um, those 4 lessons are amazing. And as you were sharing them, I was like, yep, learn that. Yep, learn that. Yep, learn that. And learn that. Something that I often tell my clients is, like you want to see where I started, go rewind back to my very first YouTube video. Like go there, look at that first and stop looking at the shit that I'm putting out today. Because my first video was literally me sitting at the edge of our spare bedroom bed. Like I'm literally sitting cross-legged on a bed talking to my laptop, and the sound quality is bad, the video quality is bad. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like my journey, my self-love story. And that video to date still has some of the most views out of all of my YouTube videos. And so it's like we do judge ourselves so harshly, but we often underestimate what we have to share with the world, because no matter what, like every human being, we're all at least 1 or 2 steps ahead of someone else. So we have something to share. And that it's all about creating that impact. And so I love those 4 lessons. Thank you for sharing that personal story. I think that really brings it home for a lot of people. Because our listeners today, they all have a gift, they all have a purpose, they all have a message and a mission that they want to bring out to the surface. And I'm pretty sure they're all ready to start showing up. So with these mindset tips, I mean, I think this is a great place to start for everyone listening. Start with really understanding these mindset tips, but then where do they go from there? Like, how do they start then creating this publicity for
Yeah.
themselves or becoming known, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to share the first three steps. And I also want to define what publicity is because not everyone
Yeah.
even knows what that means.
Right.
So publicity is all about you reaching more people with your work, specifically through media and influencer platforms. So that could include magazines, TV, websites, podcasts that are hosted by your favorite influencers. It could be being invited to speak on someone's stage or mastermind group, but really it's about you being elevated and reaching more people through these platforms. And so, and I really believe that every entrepreneur needs publicity because it's one thing for you to tell the world, I'm the number one person when it comes to XYZ, I'm the best.
Hmm.
But the thing is, it's only going to go so far if you're the only person saying it. You need
Right.
other people saying it. And it's very powerful when you have media brands or influencers that have built that know, like, and trust factor and have that brand authority. So that's why I just think it's really essential for everyone who doesn't need to get their message out to more people. So,
Yeah. I like what you said right there, though, the know, like, and trust factor. Before we go deeper into that, can you just share a little bit about that, the know, like, and trust?
oh, it's everything. I mean, there are so many, people and personalities and voices out there. And if there is a person, a brand that someone knows, likes, and trusts, it just cuts through the noise. I think about, when I'm making decisions about what to buy, if I see that a magazine featured, like, let's say a mascara as like the best of, 2020 or
Right.
2019, I'm like, okay, like I pay attention to that. Or if an influencer is like, this is my favorite green juice, or this is the person that I go to get all of my marketing advice from, people pay attention to that. It's so
Right.
powerful. It's like the ultimate endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what had me like you immediately. Knowing, so just really seeing your name everywhere, and even just within my circle of friends and influence, like a lot of people had worked with you, a lot of people just knew you personally or had been in your programs. And then I mean, just from everything that's put out there, everything that people are saying about you, it was easy to like you immediately because my friends liked you, my peers liked
Oh,
you.
thank you. Yeah, and Robert Cialdini has this new book out. He's
Yeah.
the author of the book Influence, and he wrote a relatively new book called Persuasion, which I need
Ooh.
to read. But actually, I'm like, that's my whole business. Because when you get media and publicity and you have people talking about you,
Hmm.
before people actually get on the phone with you or meet you, they're already like in advance, kind of like persuaded, and they see you
Right.
as someone that they need to get to know. So that's really powerful. If you're someone who's like, I don't want to get on the phone and feel like I have to prove myself and prove that I'm the
Yeah.
best XYZ coach out of like the dozen other people they're considering, then
Hmm.
you want to do these things in advance, build this brand authority, and not just like authority from like prestige place, but it's also building that emotional connection. When
Yeah.
someone listens to a podcast interview for an hour and they feel like, wow, I feel like I was sitting in the living room with this person. I know them,
Mhm.
I know their stories and their values. They're going to fall in love with you. They're going to feel like a real connection. So all this stuff is just so important.
Yeah. And that is the difference that I want to point out to our listeners between, manipulative tactics and really just having people fall in love with you. Like
Yes.
having people fall in love with your work, with you're letting yourself be seen. What you said about values, them getting to know your values, them getting to know your tone, just how you show up, that creates that connection. Which creates the likability factor, which creates the trust, which is why then people want to work with you or buy your stuff or be in your programs or be in your space. So yeah, thanks for diving into that with me. That was really cool. I love know, like, and trust. I think that's a great factor. That should be a book.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The know, like, trust factor. Cool. So thanks for sharing what publicity is. I love that you shared it's really just about reaching more people, because I think that simplifies the essence of what publicity is, because the word publicity can seem really, again, like far-fetched. How is that for me? But if you bring it down to the truth of what it is, which is reaching more people, well, of course I want that. Like, of course I want my message to reach more people. So then what's next? Now I'm at the point where I want to reach more people. I want to create that know, like, and trust factor for myself. So what do I do? How do I get my message out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So step number one is getting really clear on what you want, because there's many different kinds of publicity and some publicity won't be relevant. For example, if you have a high-end service to sell, like let's say a $5,000 coaching package,
Mm-hmm.
being on TV might not be the most relevant form of publicity because oftentimes TV segments are just a couple of minutes, whereas being on a podcast of an influencer that has an audience of buyers and that care about coaching would be more applicable. Or maybe you have a book coming out and you're like, you know what, now I'm really looking to reach the masses. Like, I want everyone. I want, stay at home moms, or even like industry leaders or world leaders like, Michelle Obama to be aware that my book exists. Well, then maybe now
Right.
you want magazine publicity or something different versus just niche podcasts. So you really have to be clear on what publicity makes sense for your particular situation, your business model, and also who you're looking to reach. So that's number one.
Mm.
And I help people with that in a program I have called Impacting Millions. But at a high level, just really think about like, where is my target audience hanging out, right? Because that's where
Right.
you can be seen. So that's number one.
Yeah.
And then number two is getting really clear on what you're an expert in, because you have to be thoughtful about what you're putting out there. And while you may know a lot about a lot of things, have a lot of different life experiences, if you're just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, you're not going to really be remembered as a leader in a particular area. So
Right.
for me, I really double down talking about publicity. It's also connected to the business I have. So it makes sense I'm known as an expert. And then my other expert topic is relationship building, networking, and all of that.
Right.
So got to be clear what you want to be known for. And then number three is really letting the world know. Like, before you even, send any formal pitches, it's just putting it out there, because a lot of times we have low hanging fruit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We may have a friend who has a podcast, but we were too afraid to ask her to be on the podcast because we're like, well, what if I'm annoying her? What if she wants to say no and it damages the relationship? Or
Right.
maybe you have a friend who is actually a contributor, a regular contributor to Forbes, and they could feature you, or maybe they have ideas on how you could get featured, but you're too afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there's opportunities that have been presented to you, but you didn't actually show up and seize them. So that's
Right.
what I really recommend, is like people putting it out there. And so one of the things that they can do is even put out a post on Facebook and say, hey, this is a year that I really want to be seen in a much bigger way, and share my message around X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some of the things that make me an expert, and here's some of the powerful things I can talk about. Do you know of any, media platforms, speaking opportunities, teaching opportunities where I can share this? Like, tag me, reach out to me, that kind of thing. And so that's just like one way, but there's lots of other mediums to kind of start reaching out. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be this crazy intimidating thing. Like, okay, I'm not ready to be seen by Oprah, so I can't get
Right.
started. My website's not ready. What are some things, opportunities that are in your own backyard that you could just take a small step and get?
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because I think often we do have the big vision of like
Yeah,
where I want to eventually be, but we forget that we all have to start somewhere. And there are definitely opportunities in our backyard. There's opportunities within our networks and within our networks to start there. So like really understanding and getting that clarity on your audience and who you want to speak to, on what you're an expertise in, and then like starting to let people know. I think those are really great tips for people to um, get started on reaching
absolutely.
more people.
And the other thing I want to add, Ruby, is that it's so important for people to build a body of work, because
Mhm.
let's say somehow like Oprah's team heard about you,
Right.
whoever, right? And they're like, oh, this is someone's telling them they're the big expert, but they look them up and they Google them, and there aren't any articles, there aren't any podcasts, there isn't any, like, they haven't been showing up. They're
Hmm.
not going to be seen as someone who is truly committed to the work that they're doing,
True.
versus if they Google an expert and they see, wow, this person has been putting out content, they're consistently, they're building an audience, they're sharing their ideas, their story. So, you need to start small and build that really strong foundation to be ready for the biggest opportunities.
Love that. Which brings me to a question then. Do you think more is better, or is it more about the quality and the potency of what we're putting out there?
Everyone's different. Like, I have friends who are content machines and they
Hmm.
love to churn out content and do lots, and that's fine for them.
Right.
I personally am a quantity over quality person.
Mm.
I personally believe that whatever you put out should be quality. So like, don't put it out just like for the sake of it or to do it really quickly.
Right.
But when people land on the stuff that I create, I want them to feel like, wow, that was really powerful, and it's going to compel them to want to do more.
Right.
The other thing is like these things take time. So I think that the thing is there's a powerful compound effect, like if you were to even um, pursue like two publicity, you know, actually maybe not this example. I was going to say two publicity opportunities a week, but that would be a lot. But even, like let's say, you know, a dozen like over the course of a year.
Right.
That's actually realistic, to be on
Right. One a
podcasts and
month.
so
Yeah.
yeah, one a month. Like over time, like that really does compound. And maybe next year it's two a month or whatever it is. And
Right.
before you know it, like if you're consistent for a couple of years, got like over 100 of these visibility opportunities that have really built and elevated your brand.
Yeah, that's so true. And the compound effect is real because I've experienced it. Like I remember my very, very first speaking gig was at an event called Epic in San Diego. And from there, I established relationships that are now lifelong relationships with people who are in the industry. That led to me getting on Addicted to Success podcast, sandwiched between Deepak Chopra and Gabrielle Bernstein. And every time I'm on a podcast, it feels like I'm then asked from that podcast to do another one.
Right, exactly.
And
Hmm.
so it's just really cool to see how this works and how eventually it kind of starts to churn itself too.
Yeah,
But we have to be willing to take that first step and go after the things that we want and put ourselves out there and not just wait for things to come to us. Because I think a lot of people also do that, is like, let me just wait for someone to see me. Like I'm
yes,
going to wait to be seen, and then they're going to come to me, and then they're going to ask me to be on the podcast. But that doesn't always work.
yeah.
We'd be waiting forever. So I love this. I think these are really great tips and tools for people to get started to really start reaching millions with their message, because it is selfish to sit on your message. And if you're here to serve and if you're here to create impact, then you need to start putting yourself out there and being seen so the impact can be had. So to our listeners, I would love for you to share, like, what is one thing that you wish every thought leader would just really understand about publicity that they may not truly understand just yet?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times when people think about publicity, they think that they need to kind of pose or be another person.
Yes.
But when I think about publicity, I really think it's about like sharing your heart, sharing the things that
Mm,
you're most passionate about, thinking about how you can be of greatest service. And so I pursue opportunities where I can go really deep and talk about the things that I care about. And so, the things that maybe you're sharing with someone in a client session or maybe on a webinar or in a class that you're teaching, these are the same things that you can put out there. So it's not different than what you may already be doing. So I think there's just like a block feeling like I have to be at a certain level. I need to be a best-selling author, a 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur, an internet superstar. But it's just doing what you're already doing, but putting it out there on a bigger platform.
yeah, that's so important. I think that was something that I didn't quite understand either when I first started, is I felt like I needed to yeah, kind of posture and position myself in a certain way, which meant I need to show up in a certain way. And what I've found through my years of doing this work is like more ease, first of all, in confidence in the work that I do, but that also translates better in interviews and podcasts, where I can just show up and breathe and like just show my heart and be real. And that actually has led to um, more ROI, more clients who come my way because they can actually feel my heart. And that is the difference, because I've noticed there are people out there who have a lot of publicity, but it's like you don't really feel them. And then there are people who have a lot of publicity and you feel like you know them, like you feel like you're emotionally connected to them, like the way that you put yourself out and how you're willing to share, even things like, I'm an introvert, and
Mm-hmm.
certain things are tough for me, and there's videos that you've been putting out that are amazing, and you're talking about fear, and that shows people who you are behind the scenes, and that creates like the likability factor, which I think is super powerful. um but there are a lot of people who aren't willing to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so for those people who might be scared to do that, to show those parts of themselves, what do you have to say to them?
I would say you have to do it even though you feel scared. There's a lot of things I do today and I'm still scared, but I do it anyways.
Yeah.
The other thing is, which is exciting, is as human beings, we're actually quite adaptable. So as we do something consistently that used to scare us, that fear goes away and that becomes our new normal,
Right.
which is so exciting. I mean, my first podcast interview was very scary for me. Now it just feels like second nature to be on video and have a conversation with someone.
Right.
And, when I think about publicity, it's not, because publicity brings so many good things. It brings prestige and new audiences and deeper relationships and
Hmm.
so much. But to me, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about publicity is I see it as helping people reach their full potential, right?
Right.
Because when you show up in a bigger way, you share your story, you're reaching millions of people, you're becoming like the highest level of yourself. It's like about unlocking
Mm.
your potential. And to me, that is so exciting. I want people to, not play small, but really push themselves to the edge of possibilities.
I love that. I love that, what you said about unlocking your potential. Because I
Yeah.
felt that. I felt like every time I do a podcast or write an article or put myself out there in the way, I am unlocking more of myself and becoming more of myself as well, which creates the deeper connection with my audience. So yeah, I love that. It feels more exciting when you position it that way too. So you have something that could really support our audience. Um, and I want to give you an opportunity to gift that to them.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about this gift.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that every entrepreneur should and can get publicity. They deserve it. And so I want to break it down for people. So I have a checklist, a
Mm.
publicity checklist. They can get it at impactingmillions.com/Ruby checklist, all one word, impactingmillions.com/Ruby checklist. And it just shows them like exactly what they need to do to start getting publicity. And it's not necessarily what you think. It's not that you need the perfect glossy website or that you need a million and one credentials. So we break it down in an easy way, and just downloading that checklist, reading it, I think is really going to shift some things in people's minds and really be that first step to them getting some big opportunities this year.
Ooh, that's exciting. So for our listeners, for those of you who are ready to get some big opportunities this year, which I know all of you have it in you to get, make sure you download this checklist. I'm going to have that link in the show notes and so much more. So make sure you do that. And when you do that, and you start to dive deeper into it, please reach out to myself and Selena and let us know how you like it. Let us know what you're digging in it, what the results that you're creating in it, because we'd love to hear from you. And for those of you listening, if you really enjoyed this conversation between me and Selena, hit us up and let us know. Let us know your greatest insights. Selena, what's your favorite place to hang out on social right now?
Right now, Instagram. I'm
Ooh.
pretty new to it, but I'm having a good time and I would love to connect with people there.
Awesome. And Selena's handle is at Selena Soo. My handle is at I am Ruby. So make sure you hit us up. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. Selena, is there anything else that you want to leave everyone with today before we close out our conversation?
I would just say, to reach your full potential, you have to do the things that scare you.
Ooh, yes. Love it. Love it. So lean into your fear and put yourself out there. Bring your message to the millions and let your impact be felt. Thank you so much, Selena, for joining us today on today's Thought Leader. And to our listeners, as usual, thank you so much for joining us, where we are challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. Make sure you drop a rating and review on iTunes and share this episode with a friend. If you love it, share it. If you have any questions for myself or Selena, please reach out to us on social media. Download the checklist today, and I will see you back here on Monday for a brand new episode of Today's Thought Leader.